ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Aquarius December 2023 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant. Well, this month we have a very beautiful deck, very startling deck. It has a sub-Saharan African theme to it, and in particular a concentration on those cultures in and around West Africa. So I'm sure those folks with African heritage will have an emotional connection with the art, but I think that you're going to have an emotional connection with it as well. I think that this art just brings out feeling within you. In your case, it's going to be good feelings. I probably shouldn't provide the predictions yet, should I? Of course, in the course of the last month, I've done a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for people from different countries around the world. And if you might be interested to see what's involved in that, at the end of the video, check out the description box. And during the course of the last month, now, of course, readings I charge for. Now, I say they go for an hour, but look, they virtually always go for longer than that because it just seems to be that there's a lot that needs to be spoken about. Now, what I also have done are a number of healings over FaceTime and Skype for people in different countries as well. Now, the spiritual gifts that were given to me at birth, one of which was healing, is provided clearly on the basis that I am to receive nothing in return for it. So healing is free. There's no obligation. There is no catch. You will not be recommended any product or service from me or anybody else. And I can tell you that you should not be shy or embarrassed or ashamed to get hold of me, because I've been doing this for over 40 years, and I can assure you that there is nothing that I have not seen or heard from all the people from all the different parts of life that you can imagine. And so as a consequence of that, I am completely non-judgmental, and my role is to provide comfort. And so, shall we now get it underway? And there is what to come out first. We'll see what the cosmic energies are, along with the astrology and the numerology. There's the 10 of staffs. Now, the numerology will be important as a rule. There's Mama Coin. See, that's pretty good, I would think. I'm just getting something up from that. This art will, I think, 6 of coins. Let's get this great feeling of success for you this month. There's Justice. Isn't that a lovely Justice card, as you will just see? You really don't see this around every day, this particular deck, at least. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. But then I never look at anything. And there's Temptation. Ooh. I'm a sucker for temptation. Well, why don't we, as a usual practice, come sit down next to me. I'll bring the camera around so that you and I can have a good, close look at the artwork that's here together while I do the reading for you. Right, just while I'm picking the energy up on this card, I sometimes look at the smaller YouTube tarot channels. I found one the other day called Ministry of Tarot. And the lady doing it, whose style, of course, is very different to mine, I found her authentic anyway, so you might look in on Ministry of Tarot at some time. Okay, I've got it. Let's have a look at this one first. And what do we have here? Well, let me tell you a story. Many years ago, the sun and water were great friends and both lived on Earth together. Now, the sun very often used to visit the water, but the water never returned his visits. Water told the sun his house wasn't big enough for him and his people, so he wouldn't visit until the sun built a home that was big enough for them all. Now, the sun went home and consulted with his wife, the moon, both agreeing to build a compound. And once it was done, the sun invited water over along with its friends. Water then began to flow in, accompanied by the fish and all the water creatures. and once knee-deep, the water checked in to see if there was more room, and the sun said yes, then the water was eye level. But the sun still said there was enough room for more of the water's friends. Soon, sun and moon had to move up to the roof. The sun still insisted there was enough room until water overflowed the rooftop. The sun and moon were forced to go up into the sky, where they have remained forever since. Now, the astrology of this card is particularly good for you. This is about success, is what I'm getting up here. A great feeling of success. I think that comes from you letting go of things and delegating things. Justice, great degree of contentment about you. This is the moon ruling the second decan of Taurus, the 1st to the 10th of May. Well, this is great because the moon is exalted in Taurus, so that's a good sign. But the moon's transient nature, it comes, it goes, it's a new moon, it waxes, it's full, it wanes, and then it disappears, means that success could be short-lived, or you could have a few successes here and there. Now, what is the case, though, is that the moon likes nurturing and comfort, and Taurus, well, it's the poster child for material luxury and enjoying things like wine, food, sex, and travel, entertainment. So they're well suited to each other for bringing about material success. So I see that this is a time here for you to have the external manifestation of the inner, bringing success and transformation to you. Now there is material success going on here, and a feeling, I think, of almost like financially that you're quite happy with how things are going. You may well find that you are given the opportunity to be involved in a profitable adventure, but always make sure that you get anything checked out by an attorney if you're signing anything. This is, of course, a reminder for you to remember the successes in your life and to build on them. Certainly at this time there is a desire for the success. And if you want that, well, you've got to be willing to take risk, be committed. So you've got this card here, so I do see success coming through, trusting your intuition. Be open to your success. It is no less than a gift you can learn to accept thankfully and humbly. Now, real success only comes once you have learned to serve, and success under these conditions enriches all the levels of your being. So what does success mean for you at the moment? Visualize as precisely as possible what your success looks like, particularly before you go to sleep at night, and say this to yourself: my self-acceptance and self-confidence, they are the keys to real success. Now, I mentioned something earlier about this might be having something to do with that success or a means to getting it. Let's have a look at it. And look, we have been taught from a very young age that the top is the place to be. Get to the top of the pyramid. Yet, that can be the loneliest and most demanding position to be in. Then you've got to shoulder the weight of all you've acquired, and that load can be very heavy. It's at this place that you might find completion, not in having it all, but making sure that you are happy with what you are realistically able to manage. Now, despite the responsibilities that weigh you down, you have the energy to complete the task, is what I think. Well, sorry to have that out of focus there with my hands poking around in it. Now, so you've got the energy to complete the task, I think I was saying. So to do so means you've got to grab onto what you can and break free. Now here you see the excess sticks falling to the sides with two held above the person's head. Now, there's also here on this breastplate the symbol of Maat, which is the goddess in ancient Egypt that represented truth, balance, order, law, morality, and what have you. And she's a reminder to get back to the basics. She prevented the universe from falling back into chaos by understanding and harmonizing all of its polarities. Do you know you must also weigh your heart so you can find the proper balance to allow you to move past the burdens onto success, at this point, you can decide whether you need to find a new method to push forward or delegate responsibilities to others for the success of yourself and for the whole. Now, there's a very interesting astrology which is associated with this energy here, and that is of Saturn ruling the third decan of Sagittarius. Saturn normally gets a very bad rap. It is known as the great malefic of the zodiac. However, it really does bring about keeping you on the right path, making sure that things are sorted out properly and what have you. Now, that can bring some turmoil because Sagittarius wants to expand and express its optimism and spiritual side. And Saturn, in the eyes of some, is about restriction, and that's true in some respect. And so it represses the expansive nature of Sagittarius. So you might have here some feelings of repressed feelings or an energy that's held back, maybe feeling overburdened or taking on too much, feeling the pressure or no control over circumstances, or a victim of your own success. You see, the Sagittarian readiness to communicate is blocked by Saturn, and sometimes you can get some fears rising up. Now, if you fear rejection or disapproval or punishment, you will begin to repress your own impulses, Your strength, your vitality, and your life energy cannot be expressed. Repressed, these energies can turn into irritation and rage. Now, if this aggression finds no external outlet, you may turn it in on yourself, and it may express itself as self-denigration or depression. It's almost as if you are overburdened or overworked, or you've taken on too much. So I think this energy is really an invitation to you. It's an invitation for you to recognize and end your repression and restriction of your own life impulses. Well, this is, of course, a step towards taking responsibility for yourself, and also for freeing yourself from unjustifiable moral restrictions and limitations. So whether you are consciously repressing yourself or not, or you find that you are repressed, recognize that there is much more which you would like to express, to experience, to enjoy, to celebrate, dare. Now, there are some things I'm sure that you have always wanted to say to certain people. What are those things and who are those people? And you can, for the time being, just for yourself, express those things right now. But say this to yourself: I have the divine right to follow my feelings and life impulses. Well, then it seems we might go to the other end of that diagonal and have a look at this card, Temptation. Hello, Temptation. Now, this card, I guess, in other tarot decks is probably called what is it, Major Arcana? What's that number up there? XV15. So it would be the Devil. Well, actually, in sub-Saharan Africa, the concept of a devil doesn't exist in African traditional religions. Instead, humans and deities alike, they choose whether to go through the world from a negative or positive outlook from themselves. So it's about your outlook. Now, similarly, temptation can never push you to do anything that isn't already in your heart. The chains you bear are an illusion. You're only bound up with this movie of the things that go on in life, and we conjure up in our minds to feed our addictions to substances, to people, or to situations. Now, that piece that sits at this temptation's heart here, that actually looks like a lobster or some sort of a crustacean, doesn't it? With that outer shell. Now, as those things grow, they molt, shedding the outer skin, if you like. When they've outgrown it, and they replace it with a new one. Well, temptation teaches you that just like that crustacean, you have the power to cast off behaviors and situations that no longer serve your growth. Now, astrologically, we have Saturn here again, and Saturn in a very positive aspect because it's sitting in Capricorn, and we have Mars exalted. So the two malefics of the zodiac, Saturn and Mars, are sitting in Capricorn, but Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So both of those planets of Saturn and Mars, they can put their respective energies and outlooks together without restriction, without blowback, in a way that brings about tremendous growth and opportunity and fulfillment for you. So I see this as being a time of great procreative energy here, of a new vitality for you. You have a good sense of humor, I think. A lot of sensuality around here. People are going to find you very sexually attractive, and sexuality is going to be key. There's creative energy here. A real individualism about you is what I see. Now, you may from time to time act on blind impulse, but you will be someone who has great endurance and able to see things through, I think. And when I say things through, it's almost as if there's a sort of a tunnel vision that you will have, because I don't get the feeling that this person here is put off their goal by anything from the exterior. You, therefore, will be able to accomplish a lot if you are focused, because this devil, this temptress, if you like, isn't distracted by other things. She is only focused on the task at hand. Now, astrologically, of course, I see Capricorn here, and that, of course, is the sign of business, career, worldly success, and social standing. So these things are all going to be important to you, and they're going to be improved for you during this period. Now, I think sorry about that, while I bash my head on it. I think you need to accept that you do have an ambitious side, and there's nothing wrong with that, but do see it for what it is without becoming a slave to it. You certainly are going to have at this time a strong desire to compete, to improve, and to win. But make sure you keep a balance between the material side of life and your emotional and spiritual side. I think you might also find that you are sexually attracted to someone, whether or not you act upon it. Now, there may well be some people who think that you are the temptress or the temptor, make you out to be a devil. Or just meet them with a humour and light-heartedness and accept what life gives you. Keep your feet on the ground. Maybe you do want to ask yourself this, though. Do you have some wish or desire that you don't admit to? But say this to yourself. I am a vital, joyful, and grounded person. I enjoy my sexuality. Whether my problems are real or imagined, I can handle them realistically and with good humor. I am the captain of my ship. Now, there was another person type of card down here. Let's have a look at this. Justice, okay. Okay, indeed. Let's have a look and see what there is to... what Justice has to say to you this month. And look, Justice really stands guard at the center of your life, weighing the decisions you make and bringing you to the awareness of how you deal with the imbalances in your life. Now, it's associated with the sign of Libra, of course, and above these Libran scales here, there are a couple of, on that side, a couple of all-seeing eyes that are there. And at the crown of Justice, there are 4 guardians, 1, 2, 3, 4, that represent, I think, balance, structure, systems that govern the universal law. And this owl, which is at the top here, carries the energy of wisdom and knowledge to bring light to what lurks in the shadows. Now, because of the very strong influence of Libra, which is here in my view, it emphasizes that this energy which I'm getting here is all about balance and equilibrium, about bringing a situation into balance. This is also about self-control, I think, for you. Now, you will receive justice at this time. There is balance. There is an adjusting, maybe, of your courses of action on things and a suspension of action pending a decision. I think you're going to actually, well, rather than be impulsive here, I'm going to sit down, think about it, weigh out the alternatives, find out the alternatives, and then I'll come to an answer, because there's an objectivity and a standing back. Now, there could also be things around here which are dealing with contractual matters relating to marriages or lawsuits or things like that. And there's the balancing of opposites within yourself and with people who are around you. There's a great degree of spiritual and intellectual power here for you. Great ability to think, generate ideas, a wisdom that's here for you. And the powers of thought that you have are directed to, and they're put in contact with, the real world. From another angle, I think that this is also saying that you ought to maybe avoid all extremes in your daily life at the moment. Now, this could refer to emotional disturbances in relationships or at work, in some creative activity, or in dealings with money. Now, total centeredness and inner balance are needed if the great new ideas arising now are to bear fruit. From a position of balance, everything develops in a balanced way, in its place, given its appropriate value. Now, the storms of life, of course, throw you out of balance again and again, don't they? The constant change between being centered and uncentered is the process which teaches you to be more conscious from moment to moment in order to retain that inner peace and clarity when you find it. You're getting a clear vision of possibilities and choices ahead of you now, and you'll be applying your insights that you've gained by way of experience to bring about a balanced life and to bring about success, because there's also a sort of a taking stock of your life to see what is useful and what should be let go, and you'll be thinking clearly about life ahead of you, and understanding that all actions have consequences. So pay attention to what situations in your daily life tend to throw you off balance, and discover the conditions under which you find harmony again. Carry this quality with you more and more as you move through your daily activities. Now, what helps you to reach your meditative center and to stay there? And what happens when you lose your center? So say to yourself, I am balanced and centered. I honor my word. I value being truthful even in difficult situations. The abundance and beauty of nature is a reflection of my own beauty and nature, and I am at rest in my own center. And that takes us finally, I think, to this card. Let me have a look. Let me look into your eyes so I can see what it is you want to say. All right. Gee, I'm getting a lot. We were speaking of Capricorn earlier. There's a lot of Capricorn around here, so they're going to be important to you. As is Sagittarius, I would suggest. Now, this is saying to me that this is a time when you will be ambitious, and I'm not surprised given that we looked at this card earlier on. Remember this woman that was sitting down here? You are going to be ambitious, but nevertheless you're going to be very affectionate and kind, charming,
practical. Very, very good for people involved in domestic duties and doing things around the home. You'll be ambitious, but I think you're going to work with instinct and intuition rather than coming up with experimenting with new ways of doing things. This is not the time to do experiments on new ways. Work with what does work, because I think that you'll be hardworking, practical and sensible during this period. Now, I also see that you will be possessing the finest of the quieter qualities here, but nevertheless, I think you will, in a quiet and unassuming fashion, actually be very lustful and sexy. And you could find that you enjoy drinking a lot as well. Nevertheless, there's a great fruitfulness here. There is this sense that you have overcome, or you are overcoming, a barren past. I think life has been something of a struggle, and yet things are coming through here now in a way that things are turning around for the better, as far as I can see. You will be very nurturing of other people here, and you may well find that you act as a parental figure to somebody else. Now, this energy here represents prosperity and security, but you must also find time to create nurturing time for yourself. So keep practical, compassionate, and have a nurturing attitude to others and your own circumstances, and it's a time to kind of go with the flow. Now, I am getting the feeling here of health and diet. So, but also going forward again without an overt attack upon existing situations. Look, I think you have passed through something of a dry patch on your journey, and you're now arriving in more fruitful surroundings. Now you can rest and devote some attention to yourself and to your physical needs. Now, you might ask yourself, in which ways have you neglected your body, your outer self? Do you indulge yourself? Too much, maybe, sometimes. Devote more attention to your health and physical beauty. Not to say that you don't have physical beauty, but don't rest on your laurels when it comes to that. And say this to yourself: I give my body the gift of loving attention. It gives me the gift of life, energy, joy in living, and health. Well, it doesn't really get any better than that, in my opinion. A very successful, loving, secure, wonderful month for you. Didn't you do a good job?
Well, I told you that was going to be a very interesting deck, didn't I? And I think you'll agree with me that it was. I hope that you enjoyed the artwork as much as I did, and I hope that you enjoyed the reading as much as I did providing it to you. And if you did and you've made it this far, can you do me the great favour of, on the way out, hitting the like button and the subscribe button, because it's good for the YouTube computer, if you understand what I mean. But look, it's been wonderful to see you again. I hope to see you again next month, of course, unless I see you privately in between. But until then, remember one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.